Jennifer McCreath is on the line from St. John's. Good afternoon, Jennifer.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
I have a couple of comments to add, and I think anytime you've got a societal or systemic issue, there seems to be two polarized ways to deal with the situation. One is moral suasion, the other is legislation, and we've seen interviews over the past few days with a lot of local and provincial authorities, but I think we need to remind everyone that the Criminal Code of Canada is a federal statute, and it's the federal government that sets these rules and conditions, and our local and provincial officials, I think, need to perhaps step up to the plate and engage the feds. We feel there's a problem here. Perhaps we need to look at tougher punishments. Criminal punishment is all about two things. One, it's protecting the public, and two, it's sending general deterrence. And personally, I don't think we're tough enough. I think if the penalties were tougher, we may see some action here. I guess the other issue is the moral suasion, and to dig a little deeper, as some of your other callers have alluded to, why do people drink and drive? Why do people drink? And perhaps transportation is an issue. As someone who's running for city council, I'm concerned about the state of our public transportation system, and perhaps if there were buses or shuttle buses or more pedestrian-friendly sidewalks in the winter, perhaps people would find alternate ways to get home when they're drunk rather than drive their own car. Talking about drug addiction and crime as it links together. I have no idea what the statistics are, but I would hazard a guess that people who are intoxicated may be more likely to commit crime, and perhaps we need to look at this as a bigger issue above just driving and above just alcohol.
Christine Keir, do you want to comment on that?
Well, I certainly agree that it is a federal issue with respect to the law, and we do need to, have our politicians speak to our politicians about changing the laws. They are not tough enough. They're not sending the right message.
Do the feds listen to you? Jennifer mentioned about, do the feds listen to you when you talk, or do they kind of just nod politely and say thanks, or are they?
I think the feds do lip service. They listen to us. MAD has gone to them, but the law is not changing enough. It's not being, for me, taken as seriously as it should, either federally or provincially. Provincially, we have made some strides. But there's a lot more. We need mandatory ignition interlock to start with. That's a provincial issue. That's a provincial regulation. We need random breath testing. That's a federal issue. Both these measures have been proven to greatly reduce impaired driving, deaths, and injury on the high roads.
Richard?
I look at the federal sentences under the Criminal Code of Canada with respect to impaired driving causing death. And of course, MAD Canada has come out with a range of sentences depending on the number of prior convictions under the Criminal Code. And they go from a 4 to 5 year jail term right on up to life. And based on MAD's recommendation, a life sentence would bring you would have to have 4 prior convictions under the Criminal Code of Canada for impaired driving before you'd be eligible for life. Now, personally, I think that should be reduced a whole lot, but at least MAD is being reasonable, saying, for instance, no priors, you would get a 4 to 5 year jail term and you lose your license for life, right on up to 4 priors. That's fine, but it's only good if the judges have the wherewithal to start imposing stiffer sentences or maximum sentences. Now, of course, the lawyers will argue, well, you have to go with past precedents and case law, but how are you going to develop a precedence when you don't do anything? I mean, it's like a young person trying to get a job. Well, we won't give you a job because you got no experience. Well, how do you get experience if you don't get a job? It's like a double-sworded thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think that the judges certainly can play a bigger role, and ignition interlock basically is just a no-brainer for me.
Jennifer, anything you want to add before we let you go?
I guess one final thought. Drinking and driving is a problem. It shouldn't matter whether you cause an accident or enough. We need to look at this as a serious crime. If you get behind the wheel when you're drunk, there's potential to cause significant harm, and it shouldn't necessarily have to have that harm happen before we take this as a serious issue.
All right, thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.
We had an email from
There you have it, folks. That was me, Jennifer McCreath, candidate for City Council in St. John's, Newfoundland. The upcoming election, August 21st, 2013, on CBC Radio Noon Crosstalk with John Furlong and his guest Christine Kerr, and I'm reading off the screen here, Richard Murphy. Yeah, drinking and driving, problem. Let's try to fix it, folks. I'm here to help. I'm here to advocate for you. JenniferMcCreath.com, info@JenniferMcCreath.com. Let's get in touch. Thanks for watching.